Hello friends, I just wanted to share a short recording just to look at the topic of fear and how that impacts us and what triggers that and how we can manage it. And we've all experienced fear. I can't think there's anybody who hasn't, who escapes that in some form or another. But recently, for me, I've been really surrendering to another level of the opposite of fear, which is trust. And I think that's where I want to start. If we have trust, then we can negotiate the journey of fear. But the question really is, what am I trusting in? And whom am I trusting in? And I think this is the shift that can happen in the mind when we really start to go deeper on our journey of self-discovery and awakening journey, because what I've come to find, and I know it's true for many people on this journey, is that I used to trust in myself. I used to trust in what I'd learnt and what I seemingly knew from the world. And I think most of us have been taught that. But what happens when we start to go deeper into our awakening journey, we realise that actually, if we're doing that, we're not really trusting in the one thing that can really support us. And the one thing that can support us is our higher power. You can call that Holy Spirit, Jesus, God, Buddha, whatever you want to call it. But from my experience, as I'm developing my trust in God, in Holy Spirit, in the angels, again, it's just a name, it's a symbol. But this greater, higher power is what we're awakening to on a spiritual awakening journey. And that's when all of our fears will be flushed up, all of our judgments, all of our attack thoughts, our limitations, our lack. And that's not a bad thing. And I'll be really clear about that. I think for many on this journey, we say, well, that must be wrong then if I'm not feeling great, or if I'm having this fear come out, that must be wrong, I'm doing something wrong. No, you're not. We're allowing the darkness to come to the light. And if it's not exposed, it will stay hidden and it will manifest and show itself again and again in many shapes, many guises, many places. But when we really, truly allow ourselves to be with what wants to come to the light, welcome it wholeheartedly, and actually just be in awareness of what is arising, so it actually dissipates and then eventually just melts away. And so for me recently, I've been going a lot deeper with this, because back in the beginning of November, I left my home. I'm renting it out for 6 months. I've lived in that place for 18 years and very, very grateful for the experiences I've had there. It's been a holding space while I've gone through my healing and my awakening. But I did feel there was time to move on. Didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know where. And anyway, long story short, yeah, I'm renting it out for a minimum of 6 months. It may be longer, just see what unfolds. But I went to Bali for 2 weeks on retreat, and then I've been house sitting since I got back in the UK. And that's where I am now. I'm at a house sit. Beautiful place here near Hazelmere in the countryside, looking after a little dog called Izzy, who is a Springer Spaniel. She's just at my feet, so if you hear any noises, it will be her. But really the terror and the fear that came up the few weeks before I was leaving my house, packing it up, everything that's involved in that, the paperwork, the logistics, it's a lot. It's a lot. I would have moments of utter terror where my ego mind was just saying, well, you're going to be homeless. Where are you going to go? How's it going to look? Where are you going to end up? And I had to give myself full permission to sit with that terror. And it was terror that came up. It was almost like going through the eye of a needle. They talk about, or the dark night of the soul, whatever you want to call it. It's this extreme overwhelm. But I'm aware enough now, and I have a practice to sit with it, whatever it is, and allow it, give it full permission to be there, but not on my own, with my higher power. That is the key. If I'm trying to do it as Anne-Marie, as an ego, it doesn't work. But when I bring in that supreme love, which holds me, is here with me always, it is my natural state of being, it's pure essence, it's pure spirit, then I will see through the eyes of love, with a capital L, through spirit. And so that's what I was doing. I was allowing everything to come. I wasn't escaping, I wasn't delaying, I wasn't avoiding or doing any addiction, as we all have. We all have our addictions to escape. And that doesn't just have to be alcohol or drugs. It can be shopping, it can be sex, it can be food, it can be exercise, it can just be busyness. Because the last thing, when we feel like that, is to be with it. Because, as I say, we've been taught otherwise. But it is the only way that I know truly that works. And actually is something that is with us always. We don't have to go on a retreat to get it. We don't have to go and have a therapy to get it. We don't have to go to some special country. It's there 24/7, in the supermarket, in the toilet, on an aeroplane, sitting in a meditation, watching, the birds. It's everywhere. Because it's part of who you are, your true self, with a capital S. And that is the self we are learning to be present. Because this form, this body, this flesh is not my true self. It's a vehicle that I'm using while I'm here in form. But it is not who I am. And many spiritual seekers ask that question, who am I? And for those who are really dedicated to knowing the truth, this is part of the practice, to allow what wants to come, to be with it, to actually allow it to dissolve. And as A Course in Miracles talks about, it's like we have to go through the clouds, the dark clouds, these ego attack thoughts and fears and terrors, etc., and judgments, to actually come to the other side where the light is. And it's always there. It's always there. And these judgments and fears in the mind are the clouds. And so I just wanted to share this with you, because wherever you are, however you're feeling, it's really an invitation to ask yourself, am I truly walking this path? Am I aware enough to be with my emotions and my feelings? How do I feel about that? And equally, to notice how often we project that onto a world, onto people, onto situations, onto governments, onto goodness knows what. It's outside of us that's the problem, or it's outside of us where the solution is. And it isn't. It is not. And when you get to that point, that's where the rubber hits the road, where you really have to go through this eye of the needle, this dark night of the soul. But most spiritual people that have awakened, the mystics, the awakened ones, Buddha had to sit and allow all of that to come up. Jesus had to go out into the wilderness. There's not many people that don't have to hit that wall, that darkness, to come through to the other side. So, this whole thing for me of seemingly being homeless, being a nomad, it was never something I was seeking. That was not Anne-Marie's plan at all. I think for most of us, our security is our home, isn't it? Where we feel safe and we can settle. And don't get me wrong, we have that and we need that in most cases. But what I'm discovering is, because I don't have that home to go back to, all the security, the stability, the status quo, if you like, it's really forcing me to, in a good way, to go to the only place where I know the sanity is, the love is, and that is within, in my connection to God, to Source. And that's what I want. I want to rely on that. There's a beautiful lesson from the Course, I think it's lesson 50, which says, I am sustained by the love of God. When I first read that, I was just blown away. I thought, oh my God, is that possible? And it felt so peaceful. But I had no idea how to do that or how that would look. But as I mentioned earlier, the key is that we have to develop the trust. It doesn't come overnight. And so where I'm at this stage now, it's quite surreal. And stuff is still coming up. But I know it's not wrong. I know it's a gift to be seen, to be unwrapped with love. So as I record this message, we're, I don't know, about 10 days or so from Christmas 2024. The world is busying itself, stressing, getting overwhelmed by the to-do lists, the pressures. And I've been there, and I've got the t-shirt, many t-shirts, I can assure you. But now, oh my goodness, it's so different. It's so different. There's no panic. There's no planning. There's no gotta do, gotta get, gotta be, gotta look a certain way, gotta impress. No. Because I've learned that the real meaning of what Christmas is, the Christ, we are collectively one mind of the Christ, which means the true recognition that we are a child of the universe, of God, and there is no exception. And that one shared purpose is what we're waking up to, and that's what Jesus demonstrated. His love was supreme. He didn't judge. He accepted everyone, the leper, the prostitute, the tax collector, anyone, because he knew the truth of who they were. And to me, that is the true message of this Christmas time. Can I be with all of my brothers and sisters, strangers, people I pass in the street, in the supermarket? And can I look at them and know who they are and judge not? And that's a big task for most of us. Because we all have our opinions, we all have our judgments, we all have the feeling of being unfairly treated. But that is just the false self. It's not the true self. And the true self is the capital S. Pure essence. So, yeah, I just want to extend that message, that gift of love. And this isn't for you to sit there and judge yourself from where you're at and say, oh my God, I should be doing it differently, or why do I not do this? Please don't do that. We're here traveling our own journey. It's an individualized curriculum and it will not look the same. So let's just place judgment. This is not what this is for. But maybe your heart's ready. Maybe there's a calling within you for another way. And there is another way, I promise you. And when you ask, it is given. So maybe that could be your prayer over this festive time or into the new year, to really know thyself, to come to a place where you can sit in the eye of the storm. And I just want to share this final little reading from Kali Cabran entitled Fear. And to me this sums it up so beautifully. It is said that before entering the sea, a river trembles with fear. She looks back at the path she has travelled, from the peaks of the mountains and the long winding road crossing forests and villages. And in front of her, she sees an ocean so vast that to enter there seems nothing more than to disappear forever. But there is no way, no other way. The river cannot go back. Nobody can go back. To go back is impossible in existence. The river needs to take the risk of entering the ocean, because only then will fear disappear. Because that's where the river will know it's not about disappearing into the ocean, but of becoming the ocean. Emerging into the oneness, into the infinite love. So it's okay to have fear. It's okay where you're at. And if you're trembling, it's okay too. Let it come. And know you are loved and you are held and you are blessed. And there is one with a capital O that is by your side, that is guiding you home. So I'm sending you lots of love and blessings from here in this beautiful place in Surrey that I find myself, till we meet again. Lots of love.